Welcome back. I'm Dr. Cheek and I'm a licensed clinical psychologist. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about the psychology of othering. Now, before I get into what that means, I want to ask, do you ever wonder why sometimes people tend to identify or use catchphrases or descriptors to point out a specific individual or a specific group? Or do you ever wonder how discrimination, prejudice, or stereotyping happens? Well, that may be due to the ability of some people to other individuals that they deem different from themselves or not the same as themselves. Othering itself, it means to put yourself in one group that is somehow different from another group. The part of othering that is harmful is that when we other someone, we put our group in a superior or dominant position while putting their group in an inferior or subordinate group. Othering is not simply setting yourself apart or grouping yourself for survival. Othering is identifying or putting a power dynamic or value on someone's group designation. Ways that people other someone: you may other someone based off their race, based off their ethnicity, based off of their college degree or their university of choice. It may be based off of their political stance, their religious beliefs. It could be based off a host of different identity dimensions. And when we talk about identity dimensions, is how we see ourselves and how we see people around us. Now, I want to distinguish othering from grouping in order for survival and support. Now, I know you've heard a lot of studies, you've maybe read a lot of articles and a lot of books that focus on how we tend to gravitate towards similar or like-minded individuals when we're in like an open situation. So you may gravitate to people who share your same race or your same ethnicity, or you may gravitate towards someone who shares your same interests or your same political ideology. And we typically do this because we want support. We feel safe in environments where individuals are like us or similar to us, and we also do it for survival. Now, how this differs from othering is that when we do this for support and survival, we are not then diminishing people who are in a different group. We're simply saying, this is the group I feel comfortable in, and this is a group where I feel safe and supported. We're not saying this group, it works for me, but that other group over there is less than us. They're not as superior as we are. That's what happens when we other. Now, why do we do this? Or why do individuals tend to other individuals? Primarily, it's out of fear. Typically, people other individuals, other cultures, other groups, because they fear that their own group demise will be at the hands of someone who they deem different or not the same as them. And it's typically done when one group fears the existence of another group. And that fear is typically rooted in the differences that they have as it relates to their identity, and not necessarily anything that that other group has done to be threatening or harmful in any way, but simply their existence or their identity that differs from their own. This feels like a threat to some individuals. So in that case, they may utilize othering to say that because we have these specific identity dimensions, we are superior. And since they don't have these identity dimensions, they are somehow inferior. There are typically no true studies, no true facts to back that positioning, but it feels safe for those who feel threatened by the existence of someone who's different. Another reason we do this is because we want to find a way to justify the mistreatment, the dehumanization, the demoralization of individuals that we deem different from us. Most people, when we other them, they tend to lose their status as human. And they tend to become this identifier that we give them, or that is given to them in an inferior position, whether that's criminal, whether that's alien, whether that's liberal, whether that's conservative, using terms to identify or demoralize someone as a representation of something that we see as negative or already inferior. We already have an internalized definition of those terms that are in an inferior or subordinate position. Whatever label we use to identify this individual or this group of individuals, we then take away their humanity. We no longer see them as human beings deserving of the same level of respect, dignity, and humanity that we feel like those who are within our group are deserving of. Also, we tend to other individuals so we feel comfortable seeing or viewing their mistreatment. This is how some people become desensitized to violence or something happening to an individual that they deem to be an other. If you see someone as less than human, you feel less sympathy for what they're going through, and you don't have a lot of empathy towards that grouping or those that you've labeled in a specific way. And when we dehumanize someone, we take away the ability for them to be seen, respected, or treated as such. So this is how othering happens, and this is how othering continues to happen, and this is typically the root of discrimination, prejudice, or stereotyping. And I know we just recently watched the Super Bowl, so I'm going to get a little bit off subject for a moment. So we may want to equate Kendrick Lamar's "They Not Like Us" to othering. There's a difference between what he's saying in that song and what othering is. I've defined othering. Now I'm going to define this song, "They Not Like Us." This song denotes that individuals who are standing up as representatives of a specific culture, specific ethnicity, specific race, are not the representatives for that race as an entirety. That song is simply saying, although we share similarities as far as our identities are concerned, we are not the same when it comes to how we see our culture and how we represent our culture and how we think about our culture. So our identities may be the same, but our mentalities are not. So "They Not Like Us" is not saying that this individual that shares an identity with me is somehow inferior to me. It's saying that this person or these individuals do not represent me as someone in the same group as them. It doesn't say my group is better and theirs are less than. It says that they are not a representative of me. Simply because we share the same skin tone does not mean that we share the same ideology about ourselves in that skin tone and about how we respect or treat those within our community. So "Not Like Us" is not othering. It's highlighting that these individuals or this individual is not a true representation of everyone within this specific culture, whether that be Black culture, whether that be rap culture, whether that be whatever culture that they are identifying within this song. They are not a representative of everyone within that group. Now, how do you correct for this in yourself? And this one may be a little bit difficult, but not impossible. It simply means that you have to start to identify or recognize in yourself when you're starting to use labels to identify another human being as opposed to taking the individual as they are. When you start to label someone without ever meeting them, without ever getting to know them and passing judgment based off those labels, then in this moment you are othering someone else. You are taking away their own humanity to be an individual, and you are boiling them down to a label that you created for them. And that can lead to prejudice, that can lead to stereotyping, and that can lead to discrimination. So be able to recognize when you're doing that for yourself and correct it. Start to get to know people who are different from you. Start to try to understand their differences and understand their own individual process and the things that they are going through. So what I hope you take from today's video is this. Othering is the idea that my group is the superior group and we are superior for specific identity dimensions that we have. And because you don't share these similar identities, you are in this other group that I have deemed less than or somehow subordinate or inferior to me and my grouping. This is done all the time, and this is how we start to dehumanize other individuals, because we stop seeing them as humans deserving of respect and dignity, and we start to see them as labels that we have designated as being less than. So we start to get comfortable with discrimination or prejudice or stereotyping other individuals that we've never spoken with. Our identity is a part of who we are, but our identity should not be used as a way to limit who you think I am or limit what you think I'm capable of doing. Othering is very harmful, but othering is something that we do that we need to start to correct in ourselves. Be able to recognize when you are othering an individual that you have no true understanding of or no actual interactions with. As always, I want you to take the time to jot down any thoughts, questions, or concerns you have below. So I hope you've learned something from this video today. I thank you for taking the time to listen, and I'll be seeing you again very soon. Thank you.